Some doors should never be opened. Some monsters should never be set free. Tonight, in a rotting warehouse in Gotham's East End, John Constantine learns this lesson while choking on his own blood. The exorcism was supposed to banish a minor demon back to whatever hole it crawled from. Standard Tuesday night, but the sigils are wrong. The Latin is corrupted. And when Constantine's blood hits the circle at precisely 3:33 a.m., reality tears open like wet paper. The demon screams and dissolves into ash instantly. Not banished, but erased, consumed by something far worse pushing through from the other side. The temperature drops 40 degrees in 2 seconds. Every light bulb in a 3-block radius explodes simultaneously. And through the gaping wound in dimensional space steps a man in red, smiling like he's just heard the funniest joke in eternity. Alucard inhales Gotham's polluted air and laughs. It's not the laugh of a villain or a madman. It's the laugh of a predator who's been locked in a cage for far too long and just realized the door was never actually locked. He's tall, impossibly tall, 7 feet of crimson coat and shadowed menace. His eyes glow like dying stars behind orange-tinted glasses. Constantine scrambles backward, his hands shaking as he tries to reconstruct the banishment circle, but Alucard's boot comes down on the chalk line and grinds it to powder. My, Alucard says, his voice like velvet wrapped around a guillotine blade. What delicious desperation. You smell like cigarettes, demon blood, and about 40 years of terrible decisions. He crouches down until he's eye level with Constantine, and the exorcist can see his reflection in those inhuman eyes, see himself as prey. Tell me, magician, what year is this? What world have you pulled me into? Constantine's mouth is dry, but his brain is still working, still calculating survival odds. 2025. Earth, Gotham City. And whatever the hell you are, mate, you need to crawl back through that hole before... Before what? Alucard interrupts, standing to his full height. He walks to the warehouse window and looks out at Gotham's skyline. The bat signal cuts through the smog, a beacon of hope in a city drowning in corruption. Alucard's smile widens. Before the heroes come? Before the gods descend? Before someone tries to kill me? He turns back to Constantine, and for just a moment his form flickers. 1,000 screaming faces writhe beneath his skin. Millions of voices crying out in unified hunger. I am the no-life king. I am Alucard. I have walked through oceans of blood and emerged thirsty. Your world's heroes are welcome to try. The portal behind him seals shut with a sound like breaking bones. Constantine realizes with dawning horror that whatever dimensional anchor Alucard had to his original world just severed. He's not visiting. He's not trapped. He's here because he chose to be, and the universe just accepted a new apex predator into its ecosystem. 3 blocks away, a mugger named Danny Reese is having the best night of his life. He's got a wallet with $400 in cash, a Rolex, and the satisfaction of watching some rich couple sprint away in terror. He's lighting a celebratory cigarette in Crime Alley because Danny Reese is an idiot with no sense of irony. When the shadows start moving wrong, not the normal Gotham wrong where Batman might drop on your head, different wrong, hungry wrong. That's a filthy habit, a voice says from everywhere and nowhere. Danny spins, pulling his gun, but there's nothing there, just shadows. Just the alley, just the spot where some kid and his parents died years ago, the stain that never washes away from Gotham's soul. Then the shadows peel away from the wall and Alucard stands there, solid and real and smiling. Danny fires 6 times. Every bullet hits center mass. Every bullet passes through Alucard like he's made of smoke, and the vampire doesn't even stop smiling. "Brave," Alucard observes, walking forward. "Stupid, but brave. Do you know what this city smells like? Corruption, desperation, and underneath it all, the faintest trace of something that refuses to give up. Someone who refuses to let this place die." He's inches from Danny now, and the mugger can smell old blood and older death. "But you're just a parasite, and I'm so very, very hungry." What happens next takes 4 seconds. Danny Reese's screams last for 3 of them. By the 4th second, there's nothing left but a dried husk and a wallet lying in a spreading pool of shadow. Alucard straightens his gloves, his eyes glowing brighter, and looks up at the bat signal burning in the sky. "Come then, dark night," he whispers to the wind. "Show me what a human with no powers thinks he can do against a monster like me." On a rooftop half a mile away, Batman's cowl filters pick up the screaming. By the time he arrives at Crime Alley, all he finds is a corpse that looks like it's been dead for 30 years, and a single red feather that shouldn't exist. He picks it up carefully, runs it through the cowl's analysis system, and gets results that make no biological sense. The DNA is human, canine, avian, and something else entirely, something the Bat computer flags as critically anomalous. Batman looks up at the Gotham skyline and feels something he hasn't felt in years. The cold certainty that his city just became hunting ground for something he doesn't understand. He taps his comm. "Alfred, I need you to pull every occult contact we have." Something came through tonight. Something that kills like a vampire but reads like a walking extinction event. "Sir." Alfred's voice is concerned. "Get me Constantine. Now." 3 miles away in that abandoned warehouse, Constantine is drinking straight from a bottle of whiskey and shaking. He's faced demons. He's negotiated with the devil. He's been to hell and back literally. But the thing that just walked into this universe looked at him like he was an appetizer before the main course, and Constantine knows with absolute certainty that Alucard let him live not out of mercy, but out of boredom. His phone rings. "Batman." Constantine answers and says just 4 words. "We're all gonna die." In the space between heartbeats, Alucard stands on top of Wayne Tower and spreads his arms wide, feeling this new world's energy, tasting its fear, sensing its heroes. Somewhere in Kansas, a man in a red cape feels a chill run down his spine. On Themyscira, Wonder Woman's sword hums with warning. In the depths of apocalypse, Darkseid looks up from his throne as the universe whispers about something new, something unkillable, something that might actually be entertaining. And Alucard laughs again, because he's finally somewhere interesting. If you want more characters thrown into the DC universe to watch gods bleed and heroes break, smash subscribe and comment the next monster you want to see. Justice is calling. Batman finds Constantine in the warehouse 40 minutes later, and the exorcist looks like he's aged 10 years. The bottle of whiskey is half empty. The summoning circle is still scorched into the concrete, radiating residual energy that makes Batman's cowl sensors scream warnings about dimensional instability. Constantine doesn't look up when the Dark Knight's boots hit the floor. "You're too late, mate," Constantine says, voice hollow. Whatever contingency plan you're already building in that paranoid brain of yours, scrap it. This one doesn't work like your rogues gallery. This one doesn't work like anything you've ever fought. Batman scans the circle, the sigils, the blood pattern. His cowl's analysis matches it against every occult database he's compiled over 20 years of fighting Gotham's supernatural underbelly. What he sees makes his jaw tighten. You opened a gateway to hell. Worse, Constantine laughs bitterly. I opened a gateway between hells, plural. Your universe has demons, yeah? Nasty bastards, but they follow rules. Hierarchies. They can be banished, bound, killed if you know the right words. He finally looks up at Batman, and there's genuine fear in his eyes. The thing that came through tonight, he's killed his world's devil, walked through armies of the undead, survived being erased from existence itself, and he came here because he's bored. Batman pulls up the crime alley footage on his gauntlet display. The timestamp shows the murder happening at 3:41 a.m., 8 minutes after Constantine's botched ritual. The video is corrupted, filled with static, but he can make out the shape in red, the casual way it approaches the mugger. The shadows that move like living things. Give me a name. Alucard, Constantine says, and the name tastes like ash in his mouth. The no-life king. He's a vampire, but not like the ones you know, not some undead bloodsucker that burns in sunlight and fears crosses. He's the original monster, the one your legends forgot how to describe. He's got millions of souls absorbed into his being, Batman. Millions of lives he's consumed, and every single one of them gives him power, knowledge, and a reason to keep existing when all he really wants is to die. Batman processes this. Wants to die? That's the really fun part. Constantine lights a cigarette with shaking hands. He can't? He survived everything. Holy weapons, blessed bullets, being shot through the heart by a jackal pistol loaded with silver, blessed by the Archbishop himself. Having his head cut off, being burned, being torn apart, and the bastard just regenerates and comes back smiling. The only thing he respects is someone strong enough to maybe, possibly give him a real fight. Someone who can make him feel mortal again, even for a second. Batman's mind is already working through scenarios. You said he absorbed souls. That means he was human once. Vlad Tepes, Dracula, the Impaler. Take your pick of names. He was a man who became a monster to fight monsters, and then he just kept going for 500 years until he evolved into something beyond vampire, beyond undead, beyond categorical definition. In his world, he served a human master, the Hellsing organization, a woman named Integra who he respected enough to obey. Here, Constantine gestures around the empty warehouse. He's got no leash, no master, no reason to hold back. The Bat computer alert cuts through the conversation. Another body. Gotham Harbor. Batman's cowl display shows the crime scene feed from GCPD. Detective Bullock is standing over what used to be 3 members of the Falcone crime family. They're dried husks, exactly like the crime alley victim. But this time, there's a message written in blood on the shipping container beside them in perfect calligraphy. Your criminals bore me. Send someone interesting. Batman's jaw clenches. He's hunting. He's playing, Constantine corrects. And you're the only one in this city who might actually interest him, because you're the only one without powers who keeps fighting gods and monsters and somehow surviving. He's going to test you, Batman. And when he does, Everything you think you know about fear and intimidation is going to mean nothing. Batman turns toward the warehouse exit. Then I'll adapt. With what? Constantine calls after him. You can't punch your way through this one. You can't outthink something that's lived through centuries of war. You can't intimidate something that treats death like a vacation, and you definitely can't kill something that's already. The warehouse door slams shut. Constantine is alone again with his whiskey and his terror. He takes another long drink and whispers to the empty air. Stubborn bastard's going to get himself killed, or worse, turned. Across Gotham at GCPD headquarters, Commissioner Gordon stares at the harbor crime scene photos and feels his ulcer flaring. He's seen a lot in 30 years of Gotham policing. Joker's victims, Josh's tally marks carved into flesh, Freeze victims frozen in screaming poses. But this is different. This is methodical, artistic, and deeply wrong. The blood message alone is enough to make his skin crawl, but it's the victims' faces that haunt him. They all died smiling, not the Joker's chemical rictus. Genuine smiles, like they saw something wonderful in their last moment before the life was drained out of them. His phone rings. Batman. Commissioner, I need you to pull every unit back from Harbor Patrol. Now. Batman, I've got 3 dead mobsters and a serial killer announcing himself to the entire city. I need boots on the ground, not... You need your people alive, Batman interrupts, his voice carrying an edge Gordon rarely hears. Whatever killed those men is still in the Harbor District. It's faster than human reaction time, strong enough to tear through body armor like tissue paper, and I have reason to believe conventional weapons won't stop it. Pull your people back. Let me handle this. Gordon looks at the photos again. At the message. At the dried husks that used to be men. What the hell are we dealing with? I'll know in 30 minutes. The line goes dead. Batman is already in the Batwing, circling the Harbor District with every sensor active. Thermal imaging shows nothing unusual. Electromagnetic scanning picks up standard industrial readings. But when he switches to the prototype dimensional frequency scanner, designed after the last crisis event, the entire Harbor District lights up like a Christmas tree. Reality is thin here, weak, like something punched a hole through the dimensional membrane and left it bleeding exotic particles. He lands the Batwing on a warehouse rooftop and deploys the full combat loadout. Explosive batarangs, sonic disruptors, concentrated UV floodlights in case the vampire classification is accurate. Enough gadgets to take down a small army. But as he checks each weapon, he hears Alfred's voice in his earpiece, quiet and concerned. Master Bruce, I've been researching the name Constantine provided. If even half of the documented accounts are accurate, you're walking into a confrontation with something that shouldn't exist. Something that survived its own death and came back stronger. Perhaps this is a situation that requires the League. Not yet, Batman responds, moving across the rooftops with practiced silence. If this Alucard wanted mass destruction, Gotham would already be burning. He's testing the waters, testing me. And if I call in Superman or Wonder Woman now, I lose any chance of establishing a dialogue before this escalates into... A slow clap echoes through the harbor. Batman freezes. The sound is coming from everywhere and nowhere. His cowl can't pinpoint the source. The clapping continues, mocking, amused, and then Alucard's voice rolls across the docks like thunder. The Batman, the Dark Knight, The man who makes criminals fear the shadows because he became something worse than them. I've been looking forward to meeting you." Batman's hand goes to his belt, but he doesn't throw anything. Not yet. "Show yourself." "As you wish." Alucard materializes 15 feet in front of him, simply fading into existence like the darkness itself gave birth to him. He's even more imposing in person, 7 feet of casual menace wrapped in that crimson coat. His eyes glowing behind orange glasses, his smile revealing teeth that are just slightly too sharp. He looks Batman up and down with the air of a connoisseur examining a vintage wine. "Impressive," Alucard says. "No heartbeat elevation, no tremor in your hands. You've seen monsters before and learned not to flinch. But you're also calculating 60 different ways to attack me right now and dismissing 59 of them as inadequate. Smart." He takes a step closer. "Tell me, human, do you know what I am?" "A vampire," Batman says flatly. "One that doesn't follow traditional rules. You absorb souls instead of just drinking blood. You've existed for centuries. And you killed 3 men tonight because you were testing this world's response time." Alucard's smile widens. "Very good. Constantine briefed you quickly. But do you know why I killed them, those 3 men at the harbor?" He gestures to the warehouse behind him. They were trafficking children, 12 of them locked in containers, scheduled for shipment to private buyers. I could smell the fear on those children from across the city. So I went to investigate, and I found something even your vaunted surveillance network missed. Batman's eyes narrow. His cowl scanning already confirmed Alucard's claim. 12 heat signatures in the warehouse, all children, all alive. The Falcone family had been expanding their operations, but Batman's intel hadn't caught the trafficking ring yet, which means either his network had a hole, or Alucard's sensors operate on a level that makes Batman's technology look primitive. "So you killed the traffickers," Batman says. "I drained them dry," Alucard corrects pleasantly. "And I left them smiling because in their final moments I showed them every horrible thing they'd done reflected back through the eyes of their victims. I let them feel the fear they had inflicted. And then I consumed their souls so they could spend eternity as part of me, forever conscious, forever screaming, forever punished. Killing them would have been mercy." His eyes flash crimson. "I don't do mercy for slavers." Batman processes this, a monster with a moral code. Not heroic, but not mindlessly evil either. Dangerous. The children? Unharmed, traumatized, but alive. They're in the warehouse, 2nd floor, waiting for someone in authority to collect them. I left a trail obvious enough, even your police force could follow it. Alucard tilts his head. "You're welcome, by the way. I didn't ask for your help." "No," Alucard agrees. "You didn't. But I gave it anyway because something in this city interests me. Someone who fights gods and monsters with nothing but gadgets and willpower. A human who makes himself into a symbol so effective that criminals would rather face metahumans than you. That's delicious irony, Batman. You've turned yourself into the monster to fight monsters. We're not so different, you and I." "We're nothing alike," Batman says coldly. "I don't kill." Alucard laughs, and it's the sound of tombstones cracking. Oh, this is going to be fun. The standoff lasts exactly 3 seconds before Alucard moves. He doesn't run or lunge or telegraph his attack. He simply exists 15 feet away and then exists directly in front of Batman, his hand wrapped around the Dark Knight's throat, lifting him off the ground like he weighs nothing. Batman's counter-response is immediate and brutal. He triggers the UV floodlights built into his gauntlets at point-blank range, 4,000 lumens of concentrated ultraviolet light pumping directly into Alucard's face. Any normal vampire would ignite, scream, turn to ash. Alucard doesn't even blink. The light washes over him and he smiles wider, revealing fangs that look like they could bite through steel. "Did Constantine not mention?" Alucard asks, conversationally, still holding Batman suspended. "I walked through London at noon. I've burned in holy fire and regenerated. Sunlight is just another inconvenience I've evolved past." He tilts his head, examining Batman's cowl with genuine curiosity. "But please, keep trying. I haven't had a good challenge in years." Batman drives his armored knee into Alucard's solar plexus with enough force to crack concrete. The vampire doesn't flinch. Batman follows with an explosive batarang directly to Alucard's face, detonating on impact. The explosion tears Alucard's head completely off his shoulders in a spray of impossible black blood. Batman drops to the ground, rolls backward, already reaching for the next weapon in his belt. But Alucard's headless body doesn't fall. It stands there, hand raised to where his head used to be, and then the wound erupts with shadows. The darkness coalesces, reforms, and within 2 seconds Alucard's head is back, perfect and undamaged, his smile never wavering. "That actually stung a little," Alucard says, sounding genuinely pleased. "You're not holding back." "Good. I hate when they hold back." Batman processes the regeneration speed, calculates options, dismisses another 40 strategies as inadequate. "What do you want?" "Now that's the right question," Alucard says, straightening his coat. "What does an immortal monster who's seen everything want? I've killed my way through armies. I've faced gods and angels and demons. I've died and come back so many times, death doesn't even bother sending the invitation anymore. Your world, Batman, is the first interesting thing I've encountered in decades. So I want to see what it has to offer. I want to meet your heroes and your villains. I want to see if any of them can make me feel mortal again, even for a moment. And if they can't..." Alucard's smile turns sharp. "Then I'll get bored, and you really don't want to see what I do when I'm bored." Batman's hand hovers over his belt, weighing options. "I can't let you roam free killing criminals." "Can't let me." Alucard laughs. "Tell me, Dark Knight, exactly how do you plan to stop me? You've already tried ultraviolet light and explosives. Shall we test holy water next? Silver bullets? A wooden stake through the heart? I've survived all of them, multiple times. I've been completely destroyed and regenerated from a single drop of blood. I've been erased from existence itself and clawed my way back through sheer willpower because I wasn't done yet." He takes a step closer, and Batman can feel the predatory hunger radiating off him like heat. "You're a brilliant tactician, a master strategist, but some problems can't be solved with preparation and gadgets. Some monsters don't have weaknesses you can exploit." "Everything has a weakness," Batman says. "Mine is boredom," Alucard replies. "So entertain me. Give me a reason to care about your rules. Convince me that your no-killing code is anything more than a human trying to pretend he's better than the monsters he hunts." He spreads his arms wide. "Or try to kill me. I promise you'll fail, but the attempt might be amusing." Batman's mind races through scenarios. Alucard isn't lying about his capabilities. The regeneration alone puts him beyond any vampire Batman's encountered. And there's something else. Something in the way reality seems to bend slightly around the vampire, like he's not entirely anchored to this dimension. Constantine mentioned absorbed souls. Millions of them. Which means Alucard isn't just one entity, but a collective consciousness wearing a single face. Killing him wouldn't just require destroying his body. It would require destroying every soul he's consumed simultaneously. Impossible with current resources, which leaves negotiation. You said you served someone in your world, Batman says carefully. Someone you respected enough to obey. What made her different? Alucard's expression shifts subtly. Not quite nostalgia, but something close. Integra Hellsing. She inherited me, inherited the organization dedicated to hunting the undead, and she never once flinched from what I was. She gave me orders and I followed them because she understood something fundamental about monsters like me. We crave boundaries. Rules. Someone strong enough to hold the leash. Without that, we're just chaos waiting to happen. He looks Batman directly in the eye. Are you strong enough to hold my leash, Batman? Because I'm offering you a chance very few get. Give me purpose. Give me boundaries. Give me a reason not to tear through this city like a plague. Under my conditions, Batman says immediately. No killing unless absolutely necessary. No feeding on innocence, and you follow my lead on threats. Boring conditions, Alucard says. Counteroffer. I'll refrain from killing innocents, but criminals are fair game. I'll follow your lead on threats that interest me, and in exchange, I'll help you with the things you can't handle. The supernatural threats, the gods and demons that your gadgets can't touch. I'll be your monster, Batman, your weapon of last resort, the thing you unleash when everything else fails. Batman knows he's being manipulated, knows Alucard is enjoying this negotiation, but he also knows the alternative is Alucard running free with no oversight whatsoever. And that's a scenario that ends with bodies stacked like cordwood. At least this way there's some measure of control, some way to monitor and potentially contain the threat. Criminals are still protected by law, Batman says. Due process, trials, prison, not summary execution. Your Gotham criminals have been through due process, Alucard counters. Most of them repeatedly. They've been to your prisons. They've escaped. They've killed again. Your system is broken, Batman. It catches them and releases them in an endless cycle because you refuse to do what's necessary. I'm offering to break that cycle by becoming judge, jury, and executioner. By being what you won't let yourself be, Alucard says quietly. The final solution, the one that actually works. The air between them crackles with tension. Two predators, two monsters in their own right, negotiating the terms of a partnership neither fully trusts. Behind them, the warehouse full of trafficked children waits. Above them, the bat signal still burns in the sky. And somewhere in Gotham, another crime is happening right now, another victim screaming for help that might not come in time. Batman makes his decision. 1 week trial. You work with me, follow my protocols, and prove you can exercise restraint. Any civilian casualties, and I'll find a way to stop you permanently. No, you won't, Alucard says. But he's smiling. But I accept your terms anyway. 1 week, and Batman, you're going to fail to control me. You're going to watch me do things that violate every principle you hold dear. And then you're going to have to decide whether having a monster on your side is worth compromising your soul." He extends his hand. "Deal?" Batman doesn't shake it. "Stay here. GCPD is 3 minutes out to collect those children. After they're clear, we track down the rest of the trafficking network, together, and you follow my rules." "Scout's honor," Alucard says, placing his hand over his heart in mock sincerity. Batman grapples away, already calling Gordon to coordinate the rescue operation. As he swings through Gotham's concrete canyons, Alfred's voice crackles through his cowl. "Master Bruce, did you just recruit a vampire?" "I contained a threat," Batman responds. "There's a difference." "Is there?" Alfred asks quietly. "Because from my analysis of Constantine's briefing, you've just made a deal with something that views humans the way we view insects. Something that's killed thousands and absorbed their souls. Something that might be using you for its own entertainment." "I know," Batman admits. "But right now he's the devil I can see, and in Gotham that's sometimes the best option available." On the warehouse rooftop, Alucard watches Batman disappear into the night, and his smile grows impossibly wide. The Dark Knight thinks he's established control, thinks he's contained the threat through negotiation and oversight. Humans are adorable when they delude themselves. But Alucard will play along for now, because Batman is the first interesting thing he's encountered in this new universe, and breaking him slowly will be so much more satisfying than doing it quickly. Besides, Alucard can feel them now, the other powers in this world, the godlike presence in Metropolis that radiates solar energy, the warrior woman on the island of Amazons whose divine blood sings through dimensions, and something else, something dark and terrible, watching from beyond the stars with eyes that burn with omega fire. This world has gods, real ones, ancient ones, powerful ones, and Alucard has always wanted to kill a god. He turns to mist and flows through the warehouse walls, checking on the children one final time. They're huddled together, terrified but alive. He could feed on them, could absorb 12 young souls and add their life force to his collection, but he doesn't. Not because Batman asked him to show restraint, not because he's developing a conscience, but because there's no sport in it. No challenge, no moment where they could fight back and make it interesting. The traffickers, though, they deserved what they got. And there are so many more like them in this city, so many predators who think themselves apex. Alucard is going to enjoy teaching them what a real apex predator looks like. Police sirens wail in the distance, growing closer. Alucard melts back into shadows and disappears, already hunting for the next link in the trafficking chain. Batman wanted him to follow protocols. Fine, he'll follow them right up until they become inconvenient. And when the Dark Knight finally realizes what he's unleashed, when he understands that Alucard can't be controlled or contained or reasoned with long-term, it'll be far too late. The no-life king is in Gotham now, and Gotham has no idea how much blood is about to flow through its streets. In the Batcave, Batman pulls up everything he can find on vampires, supernatural entities, and dimensional anomalies. He cross-references with Constantine's notes, with Wonder Woman's accounts of ancient undead, with every occult text in his database. And slowly, a picture emerges of something that shouldn't exist. A vampire who killed Dracula and took his name. A monster who absorbed millions of souls during a war that consumed his entire world. An entity that exists between life and death, reality and unreality, simultaneously everywhere and nowhere. And Batman just invited him into Gotham. Alfred appears with tea, sees the data scrolling across the Bat computer screens, and sighs. You're building a contingency plan already. 17 of them, Batman confirms, and I don't think any of them will work. Then why make the deal at all? Batman stares at the screens, at the image of Alucard's face frozen in eternal amusement. Because if I didn't, he'd have no reason to hold back at all. This way I buy time. Time to understand what he is. Time to find a weakness. Time to prepare. And if there is no weakness, Batman's jaw sets in that familiar stubborn line. Then I'll make one. The trafficking network dies in a single night. Not arrested, not prosecuted. Dead. Batman finds the first safe house in Old Gotham at 2:47 a.m., and by the time he crashes through the skylight, it's already over. 17 men, 16 dried husks arranged in a perfect circle around the 17th, who's still alive, still screaming, clawing at his own face as shadows pour from his eyes and mouth. Alucard stands in the center of the circle like a conductor before an orchestra, his hand raised, pulling something invisible from the screaming man's chest. "You're late," Alucard says without turning around. "I've been waiting for you to arrive before I finish this one. Professional courtesy and all that." Batman lands hard, boots crunching on broken glass. "I said no killing." "You said no killing innocents," Alucard corrects, finally turning to face him. The shadows coiling around his hand solidify into something that looks like a human soul, translucent and writhing. This one coordinated the entire operation. 17 years of trafficking, 342 children sold. He kept detailed records. Want to see them? He gestures to the laptop open on a nearby table, and Batman's stomach turns at what's displayed on the screen. Spreadsheets, photographs, transaction histories, all meticulously documented. The screaming man on the floor is convulsing now, his body aging rapidly, skin turning gray and papery. Batman's seen a lot of ways to die. This is a new one. "Stop!" "Why?" Alucard asks genuinely. "Give me one good reason why this creature deserves to continue existing." "Because that's not justice," Batman growls. "That's vengeance." "No," Alucard says, and his voice drops to something cold and ancient. "Vengeance would be making him suffer for years. This is simply removal. He's a disease. I'm the cure." He closes his fist, and the soul in his hand dissolves into black mist that flows into Alucard's chest. The man on the floor stops screaming, stops breathing, stops being anything except another husk. Batman's fist clenches. "We had a deal, and I'm honoring it," Alucard says, stepping over the body without a glance. "I haven't touched a single innocent. Everyone in this room was complicit. The lawyers who filed their paperwork, the accountants who laundered their money, the guards who watched the children, all guilty, all processed through your justice system multiple times, all released to do it again. I simply expedited their sentences to the only verdict that matters." "You absorbed their souls," Batman says, his voice tight with controlled rage. "You took away any chance at redemption, at rehabilitation, at what?" Alucard interrupts, and suddenly he's inches from Batman's face, moving faster than human eyes can track. At them finding God, learning error of their ways, becoming productive members of society. His eyes burn crimson. I have their memories now, Batman. All of them. I know every single thing they did, every child they hurt, every life they destroyed. And not one of them felt remorse. Not one. They were excited about the next shipment. Already had buyers lined up. So tell me again about redemption while I show you what this one was planning. Alucard's eyes flash, and suddenly Batman is seeing through the dead man's memories. A warehouse, 50 children, an auction, buyers from 7 countries, and in the corner of the memory, a photograph, a girl, 8 years old, red hair. Bruce recognizes her from the missing persons database. Amanda Richardson disappeared 3 weeks ago from Robinson Park. Still alive in those memories. Still terrified. Still waiting for someone to save her. Batman's jaw clenches so hard his teeth ache. Where is she? Safe, Alucard says, releasing the memory. I found her 20 minutes ago in a storage facility on Dixon Dock. She's with 11 others. I called your Commissioner Gordon anonymously. He should be arriving to collect them right about now. He tilts his head. You're welcome. Again. Batman wants to hit him, wants to rage at the casual way Alucard tears through human lives like they're paper. But he can't deny results. 17 traffickers dead, 12 children saved, an entire network dismantled in hours when it would have taken Batman weeks of investigation, surveillance, and careful police coordination that might have tipped off the criminals and gotten hostages killed. This isn't how it works, Batman says quietly. Your way wasn't working, Alucard counters. Your way let this continue for 17 years. Your way requires evidence and trials and proof beyond reasonable doubt. My way requires only that I look into their eyes and see the truth of what they are. He walks to the window, looking out over Gotham's rotting skyline. You built a symbol to frighten criminals. The Batman. The creature in the dark. But you pulled your punches. You terrified them and then handed them to a system that releases them in months or years to do it all again. I don't pull punches, Batman. I'm the monster you pretend to be. I'm nothing like you, Batman says. Alucard laughs softly. Keep telling yourself that, but we both know the truth. Every time you've faced Joker, every time he's escaped and killed again, every time you've stood over his broken body and chosen not to snap his neck, you've made a choice. You've chosen your principles over the lives he'll take tomorrow. That's not heroism. That's cowardice dressed in philosophy. Batman's hand goes to his belt, but he doesn't draw a weapon. The moment I cross that line, I become what I fight. I lose what makes me different from them. No, Alucard says, turning back to face him. The moment you cross that line, you become effective, and deep down, you know it. Every victim that your rogues gallery kills, every family destroyed because you let them live, that blood is on your hands as much as theirs. You just don't have the stomach to admit it. The words hit harder than any physical blow because Batman has had this argument with himself 1,000 times in the dark hours of the night, has questioned his code every time Joker escapes Arkham, every time Two-Face kills again, every time the revolving door of Gotham's justice system spits out another monster to prey on the innocent. But he can't let himself believe it. Can't let himself think that killing is the answer, because if he starts, he knows he won't stop. He'll become Judge Dredd. The Punisher. Something inhuman wearing a Batman suit. This partnership is over, Batman says flatly. Get out of my city. Your city. Alucard's smile is sharp as broken glass. You don't own Gotham, Batman. You're just one more predator trying to establish territory. And I've decided this hunting ground is interesting enough to stay. So you have two choices. Work with me and at least have some influence over what I do. Or oppose me and watch as I continue anyway, without your input, without your rules, without your precious moral boundaries. He starts walking toward the exit, pausing at the door. Either way, the trafficking network is broken. Those children are safe, and Gotham just got a little bit cleaner. You can hate how I did it all you want, but you can't argue with results. He's gone before Batman can respond, dissolving into shadows that flow out through the cracks in the walls. Batman stands alone in a room full of corpses and evidence, knowing he should feel victorious, but feeling only hollow. His cowl calm crackles. "Batman," Gordon's voice. "I just pulled 12 kids from a storage facility. Anonymous tip. They're traumatized but alive. What the hell is going on tonight?" Batman looks at the husks, at the laptop full of damning evidence, at the perfect crime scene that Alucard left for him to discover. "Send a forensics team to my location. I'll transmit coordinates. You'll find evidence of a trafficking network and multiple homicides." "Homicides?" Gordon's voice sharpens. "How many?" 17. All suspects in the trafficking operation. All dead before I arrived." There's a long pause. "Batman, please tell me you didn't." "I didn't." Batman cuts him off. "But we have a new player in Gotham, someone who doesn't follow our rules. I'm working on containment." "Work faster," Gordon says grimly. "Because if bodies keep stacking up like this, even if they're all criminals, the city's going to panic. And panic in Gotham gets people killed." The line goes dead. Batman begins cataloging the scene, photographing evidence, building a case that will never see a courtroom because all the defendants are dead. His mind is already racing ahead, trying to predict Alucard's next move, trying to find leverage, trying to regain control of a situation that's spiraling into chaos. But part of him, the part he doesn't acknowledge in daylight, the part that exists in the deepest shadows of his psyche, whispers that Alucard is right. That the trafficking network operated for 17 years because Batman's methods weren't enough. That 12 children are home tonight because a monster did what the hero wouldn't. He silences that voice and gets to work. 3 miles away in a penthouse apartment overlooking Gotham Harbor, Lex Luthor watches news feeds from his private servers. The footage is fragmentary, pieced together from traffic cameras and satellite imagery. But it's enough. Something new is in Gotham. Something that moves too fast for cameras to track clearly. Something that leaves bodies in its wake. And the Batman, that insufferable vigilante, seems to be trying to contain it. Luthor smiles and makes a note to have his intelligence division investigate further. If there's a new power player in the world, he wants to know about it. Wants to know if it can be controlled, weaponized, used. He pulls up another feed, this one from Metropolis. Superman's daily patrol route. The Boy Scout flies over the city like a benevolent god, waving to children, stopping petty crimes, maintaining his perfect heroic image. Luthor's smile turns cold. Superman has no idea what's coming. None of them do. The world is about to learn that there are things beyond even the Justice League's ability to handle, and Luthor is going to make sure he profits from the chaos. In the space between heartbeats, Alucard materializes on top of Wayne Tower and looks up at the stars, He can feel them now, the powers of this world awakening to his presence. The Kryptonian in Metropolis is aware of something wrong, but hasn't pinpointed it yet. The Amazon warrior is sharpening her weapons, divine instinct warning of an approaching threat, and far away, beyond the edge of human space, something ancient and terrible turns its attention toward Earth with interest. Alucard grins. "Come on then," he whispers to the universe. "Send me your gods and your champions and your monsters. Send me everything you have. Let's see if any of you can give me what I really want." What he wants is simple: oblivion, true death, the final ending that's been denied him for 500 years. He's searched for it in every battle, every war, every impossible fight, and he's never found it because nothing has been strong enough to kill him permanently. But this universe feels different. This universe has gods who can crack planets, heroes who can move faster than light, weapons that can rewrite reality itself. Maybe, just maybe, one of them can finally set him free, but first, he's going to have fun. He's going to push every boundary, test every hero's limits, break every rule, and when they finally come for him with everything they have, when they throw their strongest at him in desperate hope of stopping the unkillable vampire, he'll be waiting with open arms. Because the no-life king doesn't fear death, he craves it, and he'll burn this entire universe down if that's what it takes to find it. Clark Kent hears the screaming from Metropolis. He's in the Daily Planet bullpen, typing up a story about city council corruption, when every instinct in his body suddenly screams danger. Not the usual danger. Something else. Something old and wrong and predatory. He's moving before his conscious mind catches up, leaving a coffee-stained notepad and confused co-workers behind as he becomes a red and blue blur heading toward the source. Gotham City. Of course it's Gotham. He arrives in 30 seconds, hovering 200 feet above Crime Alley, and what he sees makes his enhanced vision struggle to process the input. There's a man in red standing in the middle of the street, just standing there. But reality around him is wrong, bent, like looking at something through shattered glass. The air tastes of old blood and older death. And when the man looks up at Superman with glowing crimson eyes, Clark feels something he hasn't felt since facing Darkseid. Genuine unease. Well, Alucard says, his voice carrying impossibly through the wind. The Man of Steel, faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound, though from what I hear, you've upgraded to flight since those quaint old days. He spreads his arms wide in welcome. Come down, Kryptonian. Let's talk. Superman descends slowly, scanning Alucard with every sense he possesses. X-ray vision shows a human skeleton surrounded by what looks like thousands of overlapping bodies, all screaming silently. Thermal imaging shows a cold spot where Alucard stands, temperature dropping in an impossible gradient. Electromagnetic spectrum reveals energy signatures that don't match any known source, and underneath it all, Clark can hear something that sounds like millions of heartbeats, all synchronized, all pulsing in Alucard's chest. "What are you?" Superman asks, landing 20 feet away. "A vampire," Alucard replies cheerfully. Though I suspect you've already deduced that from the pale skin, glowing eyes, and general aura of menacing death. The real question is, what are you going to do about me? Because I'm quite certain the Batman has already briefed you, told you I'm dangerous, unstoppable, a threat that needs to be neutralized, so here I am. Neutralize me. Superman's jaw tightens. Batman's encrypted message came through the Justice League network 40 minutes ago. New entity in Gotham. Vampire classification. Extreme threat level. Shows no traditional weaknesses. Has killed 17 confirmed. Attempting containment, but recommend League intervention. Bruce doesn't ask for help lightly, which means this is serious. I'm not here to fight you, Superman says calmly. I'm here to talk, to understand what you want and see if we can find a peaceful resolution. Alucard laughs, and it's the sound of coffin lids slamming shut. Peaceful resolution? How very Boy Scout of you. Tell me, Superman, when was the last time you actually had to fight for your life? When was the last time you faced something that could actually hurt you, kill you, make you bleed? He takes a step closer, and Superman's muscles tense reflexively. You're a god walking among insects, pretending to be one of them, playing at being human when you could conquer this entire planet before breakfast. Don't you ever get tired of holding back? Every day, Superman admits. But holding back is what separates heroes from tyrants. Power without restraint isn't strength. It's just destruction. Beautiful philosophy, Alucard says. Let's test it. He moves, not running or flying, but simply existing beside Superman now, his hand gripping the Kryptonian's arm. Superman tries to pull away and finds he can't. The grip is like iron, like nothing should be able to match his strength, but Alucard holds firm. Before Superman can react further, Alucard drives his other fist into Superman's solar plexus with enough force to crack the sound barrier. Superman goes flying backward through 3 buildings. He crashes through concrete and steel, his invulnerable body creating a tunnel of destruction, before finally stopping embedded in the support pillar of an abandoned factory. Pain explodes through his chest. Actual pain, not the mild discomfort of kryptonite exposure or magic attacks, real, visceral, shocking pain. He looks down and sees a bruise already forming through his suit. Impossible. Nothing except kryptonite and magic can hurt him. Nothing. Alucard walks through the hole Superman created, taking his time, enjoying the moment. Still think we should talk peacefully? Or would you like to try using some of that godlike power you keep locked away? He cracks his knuckles. I promise you can't kill me permanently, so feel free to go all out. I haven't had a good fight in so long. Superman stands, brushing debris off his cape. His mind is racing, analyzing, trying to understand how Alucard hurt him. The punch wasn't just physical force. There was something else behind it, something supernatural. Energy that bypassed his invulnerability because it wasn't purely physical, which means Alucard operates on rules Superman doesn't fully understand. I don't want to hurt you, Superman says. Then you're going to lose, Alucard replies, and attacks again. This time, Superman is ready. He meets Alucard's charge with super speed, throwing a punch that could shatter mountains. Alucard doesn't dodge. He takes the hit full in the face and his head explodes in a spray of black blood and shadow. But his body doesn't stop moving. His headless corpse grabs Superman's extended arm and throws him straight up through the factory roof, through the clouds, into the stratosphere. Superman stops his momentum at 60,000 feet, breathing hard, watching as Alucard's head regenerates below him in seconds. The vampire stands on the factory roof, perfectly healed, waving cheerfully. Is that really all you have? Alucard's voice carries through the thin air somehow. The strongest being on Earth, and you punch like you're afraid of breaking me. Superman, I'm begging you, break me, destroy me. Show me what that Kryptonian power can really do when unleashed. Something in Superman's chest tightens. This isn't a fight, it's a test. Alucard isn't trying to kill him. He's trying to provoke him, trying to make Superman lose control, unleash his full power without restraint, become the very thing Clark fears most. A Kryptonian weapon, a destroyer, the thing Zod wanted him to be. No, Superman says quietly, descending back to the rooftop. I'm not going to give you what you want. Alucard's smile fades slightly. Excuse me. You're not here to conquer or destroy, Superman says, pieces clicking into place. You're here because you're bored, because you've lived so long and become so powerful that nothing challenges you anymore. So you came to a universe full of gods and heroes, hoping one of us could finally kill you. That's what you really want, isn't it? Death. True, permanent death. For the first time since arriving in the DC universe, Alucard's expression shows something other than amusement, something almost human. Surprise. Very perceptive, Alucard says slowly. Batman thought I was here to test his limits. You figured out I'm here to find my own. Clever, but it doesn't change anything. I'm still going to push every hero in this universe until one of you snaps. Until one of you shows me what you're really capable of. And if that means civilians die in the process, if cities burn, if heroes break their precious codes, so be it. I've got eternity. I can wait. Superman's eyes begin to glow red. Not with heat vision, with determination. Then you're going to be disappointed, because we don't break, we don't give in, and we definitely don't kill, even when facing monsters like you. Everyone breaks, Alucard counters. Given the right pressure, the right stakes. I've seen it happen across centuries. The strongest wills crumble when you threaten what they love most. His smile returns, sharper now. Tell me, Superman, how fast can you move when Metropolis is burning? When Lois Lane is bleeding out in some alley and I'm the only one who can save her if you give me what I want? How strong is your code then? Superman's heat vision activates involuntarily, 2 beams of concentrated solar energy lancing across the distance between them. Alucard doesn't dodge. The beams hit him center mass and burn through his torso, leaving a smoking hole the size of a basketball. He looks down at the wound with interest. That actually hurts, Alucard says, sounding delighted. The solar energy burns in a way normal fire doesn't. Fascinating. The hole begins closing, flesh regenerating from the edges inward, shadows filling the gaps until he's whole again. But not enough. Not nearly enough. You held back again. You could have vaporized my entire upper body. Could have followed up with freeze breath while I was regenerating. Could have thrown me into the sun. But you didn't because you're still trying to be the good guy. I am the good guy, Superman says firmly. And I'm going to keep being the good guy no matter how hard you push. We'll see, Alucard says. But I have to admit, this has been enlightening. The Batman fights with gadgets and tactics because he's human. You fight with restraint because you're afraid of your own power. I wonder how the others will fight. The warrior princess who's killed gods. The speedster who can vibrate through matter. The space cop with his magic ring. So many heroes to test. So many ways to find my death. He dissolves into shadows before Superman can respond, flowing away into Gotham's darkness. Superman stands on the ruined rooftop, his chest still aching from that impossible punch. his mind trying to process what just happened. He just fought something that matched his strength, took his heat vision without dying, and regenerated from catastrophic damage in seconds. And worst of all, he's pretty sure Alucard was holding back too. His calm crackles. Batman. Superman, report. I engaged the entity, Clark says, still staring at where Alucard vanished. Bruce, we have a problem. He hurt me, actually hurt me, and I hit him with everything short of lethal force and he just regenerated. What exactly did Constantine summon into our universe? Something that shouldn't exist. Batman's voice is grim. I'm calling an emergency league meeting. We need to coordinate response protocols before Alucard decides to test someone less durable. Superman thinks about Alucard's threat, about Lois, about the innocent people caught in the crossfire of a being who craves death and is using heroes as suicide by cop on a cosmic scale. Bruce, he wants us to kill him. That's his endgame. He's trying to find someone powerful enough to give him permanent death. I know, Batman says, which means the moment one of us crosses that line, we give him exactly what he wants. We can't kill him. We can't let him force us into becoming killers, but we also can't let him roam free testing every hero until someone breaks. So what do we do? There's a long pause before Batman answers. We contain him. We find a way to trap him, hold him, keep him away from populated areas until we can figure out a permanent solution. And we do it without compromising who we are. Superman wants to believe that's possible. But he touched Alucard's mind briefly during their fight, sensed the vast consciousness lurking behind those crimson eyes. Millions of souls, centuries of experience, an intelligence that survived every attempt to destroy it by adapting, evolving, becoming something beyond death itself. How do you contain something that exists between life and death, reality and unreality? I'll be at the watchtower in 10 minutes, Superman says. And Bruce, be careful. He's going to come for you again. You're the one he's most interested in. Let him, Batman says coldly. I'm ready. The line goes dead and Superman launches himself into the sky, heading for the Justice League's orbital station. Behind him, Gotham smolders in the darkness, and somewhere in those shadows, Alucard is laughing. The Watchtower emergency meeting convenes at 4:17 a.m. Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Green Lantern, Hal Jordan, Aquaman via holographic link from Atlantis, Martian Manhunter, Cyborg monitoring from the technical station, the core Justice League, assembled because something in Gotham is dangerous enough to make Batman ask for help. That alone tells them how serious this is. Batman uploads the briefing files to the central display. Footage of Crime Alley, the Harbor Massacre, Alucard's confrontation with Superman, Constantine's testimony, medical analysis of the victims showing complete cellular desiccation and soul extraction, reality distortion readings from every location Alucard has visited. The data paints a picture of something that breaks every known law of physics and metaphysics simultaneously. His name is Alucard, Batman begins, his voice clinical and controlled. Vampire classification, but unlike any vampire we've encountered, he doesn't follow traditional rules. Sunlight doesn't harm him. Holy symbols don't repel him. Silver and stakes are ineffective. He regenerates from catastrophic damage in seconds, including complete destruction of his head and torso. He's absorbed approximately 3 million souls over 5 centuries, giving him a collective consciousness and power set that's still being analyzed. 3 million? Wonder Woman's voice is sharp. How is that possible? War, Batman replies. In his dimension, he participated in conflicts that killed entire cities. He absorbed the life force of everyone who died around him, friend and enemy alike. Those souls are now part of him, empowering him, making him exponentially stronger than any single entity should be. The Flash leans forward, his usual humor absent. Okay, so we've got an unkillable vampire with the power of 3 million people. What's his weakness? There's always a weakness. Death, Superman says quietly. He wants to die, permanently. That's why he's here. He's testing us, pushing us, trying to find someone powerful enough to kill him for real. It's not conquest, it's suicide by superhero. The room falls silent as that sinks in. Hal Jordan breaks it first. That's insane. He's invincible and he wants someone to kill him. What kind of twisted psychology is that? The psychology of someone who's lived too long, Martian Manhunter says, his red eyes distant. I've encountered beings like this in my travels. Immortals who've seen everything, done everything, and lost the capacity to find meaning in existence. They become danger to themselves and others because they'll do anything to feel something again, even if that something is their own destruction. So we're dealing with a depressed vampire with god-level power, Cyborg summarizes. Great, just great. Wonder Woman stands, her hand resting on her lasso. Then we give him what Batman gave him, purpose, boundaries, a reason to exist that doesn't involve testing heroes until one of us breaks. She looks at Batman. You tried to recruit him. Why? Containment through cooperation, Batman explains. If he's under League supervision, we can monitor his actions, limit civilian casualties, and potentially redirect his aggression toward legitimate threats. It was working until he killed 17 traffickers in one night and made it clear he won't follow our no-killing rule. Traffickers. Aquaman's hologram speaks up. He killed human traffickers. Drained their souls, Batman confirms, along with everyone connected to the operation, lawyers, accountants, guards, anyone complicit. 17 dead, 12 children rescued. He left evidence for GCPD and called in the victims' locations anonymously. Efficient, brutal, and completely outside legal boundaries. Wonder Woman's expression is complicated. In the ancient world, such justice would be honored. A warrior who protects the innocent and punishes the guilty without mercy. The gods themselves acted this way. We're not gods, Superman says firmly. And we don't get to decide who lives and dies based on our personal judgment. That's not justice. That's tyranny with a cape. Is it? Wonder Diana challenges. How many times has your restraint allowed monsters like Joker to escape and kill again? How many innocent lives would be saved if we were willing to make the hard choices? We've had this argument before. Batman cuts in before the debate can escalate. And it's not relevant here. Alucard doesn't care about our philosophical differences. He's going to keep pushing until someone breaks. Until one of us decides killing him is worth compromising everything we stand for. We need a containment strategy that doesn't require his death and doesn't rely on his cooperation. The Flash drums his fingers on the table at super speed, thinking, what about the Phantom Zone? We throw him in there. He's trapped in an alternate dimension. Problem solved. Phantom zone projectors require Kryptonian technology, Superman says. And even if we could access one, there's no guarantee it would work on something that exists partially outside our reality. He might just phase through it. Magic, Green Lantern suggests. If science won't work, we go mystical. Get Zatanna or Dr. Fate to bind him. Seal him in a pocket dimension. Turn him into a statue. Whatever spellcasters do. Batman shakes his head. Constantine already tried magical containment. Alucard walked through his strongest wards like they didn't exist. He's been fighting magic users for 5 centuries. He knows every trick, every loophole, every way to break a mystical binding. What about red solar radiation? Cyborg offers. It weakens Superman. Maybe it weakens him. He's not Kryptonian, Superman says. And I already hit him with concentrated solar energy. He burned, regenerated, and thanked me for making it interesting. The frustration in the room is palpable. Every strategy they've used against world-ending threats isn't applicable. Imprisonment won't work because he can escape. Banishment won't work because he can return. Killing won't work because he regenerates, and that's what he wants anyway. They're facing a threat that's immune to solutions because he's already survived everything they could throw at him. Wonder Woman stands abruptly. Then I will face him. Not as an executioner or a jailer. As a warrior. I will duel him honorably and determine if he can be reasoned with through combat. Sometimes the only language certain beings understand is the clash of steel. Diana, he'll hurt you, Superman warns. He hurt me. His attacks bypass conventional invulnerability. Good, Diana says, her eyes flashing with Amazon fire. A warrior who cannot be harmed cannot grow, cannot be tested. If Alucard wants a real fight, I will give him one. And if he proves himself honorable in combat, perhaps he can be turned toward righteous causes rather than destructive ones. Batman considers this. Diana's approach is different from his tactical containment or Superman's moral restraint. She's offering Alucard something he hasn't experienced yet in this universe. An opponent who embraces violence as art rather than necessity. Someone who won't judge him for being a monster, but will measure him by how he wields his monstrosity. If you're going to engage him, do it away from population centers, Batman says finally. Themyscira, if possible. Minimize collateral damage. Themyscira is sacred ground, Diana says. But I will extend the invitation. If he accepts, he will face an Amazon in single combat. If he declines, we'll know he's not a warrior seeking worthy opponents. He's just a destructive force seeking annihilation. And if he defeats you, Hal Jordan asks. Diana's smile is sharp as her blade. Then you'll know his true capabilities. Sometimes intelligence requires sacrifice. The meeting continues for another 30 minutes, establishing protocols and contingencies. If Diana's duel fails, Superman will engage with full force while Flash evacuates civilians. If that fails, Green Lantern will attempt containment using constructs powered by willpower, strong enough to hold conceptual threats. If that fails, they'll request assistance from Dr. Fate in the magical community. If that fails, they'll consider more extreme measures. Boom, tubing him to Apocalypse and letting Darkseid deal with him. Sending him to OL for the Guardians to judge. As a last resort, opening a portal to the Source Wall and hoping he gets trapped. Every scenario assumes failure. Every contingency is desperate. Because deep down, They all know what Batman already figured out. You can't beat someone who's already survived everything. You can only hope to survive them. The meeting adjourns and the League disperses, each member heading to their territories to prepare for the worst. But Wonder Woman remains, studying the footage of Alucard's fights. She watches how he moves, not with the desperation of someone trying to survive, but with the casual grace of someone who knows he can't lose. She sees the boredom in his eyes when Superman holds back, the disappointment when Batman won't kill, the constant searching for something that will finally challenge him. "You're lonely," she whispers to the image on the screen. "Lonely and so powerful that nothing can stand beside you as an equal. I know that feeling, monster, and I will show you what it means to face someone who won't break." She leaves the Watchtower and returns to Earth, to her embassy in Washington, D.C., and begins preparing. Sharpening her sword with whetstones blessed by Hephaestus, oiling her shield with waters from the river Styx, checking her braces and her lasso, and every piece of equipment gifted by the gods themselves. If she's going to face an unkillable vampire who's killed millions, she'll do it properly, with honor, with preparation, with the full might of Themyscira behind her. She sends a message through mystical channels, a challenge written in ancient Greek and sealed with her royal blood, cast into the ether to find its target. Alucard, no-life king, consumer of souls. I am Diana of Themyscira, daughter of Hippolyta, champion of the Amazons, blessed by the gods of Olympus. You seek worthy opponents. You crave a battle that will test your limits. I offer you single combat on sacred ground where warriors have clashed since the Age of Heroes. Come to Themyscira at sunset 3 days hence. Face me blade to blade, power to power, monster to demigod. Prove yourself a warrior, or prove yourself a coward. The choice is yours. The message finds Alucard in Gotham, where he's perched on a gargoyle watching Batman patrol the streets below. He reads the mystical words as they appear in his mind, and his smile grows into something terrible and beautiful. "An Amazon," he says to the night, "a warrior goddess who actually wants to fight me properly. No holding back, no moral lectures, just pure combat between two beings who understand violence as art." He looks down at Batman, who's interrogating some thug about a drug shipment, completely unaware he's being watched. "Sorry, Dark Knight. You'll have to wait. I have a date with a goddess." He dissolves into mist and flows across the city, heading toward the coast, toward the mystical barrier that hides Themyscira from the mortal world. He can feel it already, the divine power radiating from that island, the collective strength of warrior women who've trained for millennia. And at the center of it all, Wonder Woman's life force burns like a star. For the first time since arriving in the DC universe, Alucard feels something other than boredom, anticipation, excitement, the possibility that maybe, just maybe, the Amazon princess will give him the fight he's been searching for across dimensions. 3 days. He can wait 3 days. He's waited 5 centuries. What's 3 more days when there's finally something worth waiting for? Themyscira materializes from the mist at sunset, and Alucard stands on the beach watching waves crash against shores that have remained hidden from man's world for 3,000 years. The island itself is beautiful in that ancient, terrible way. Marble temples gleaming gold in the dying light, forests that predate human civilization, mountains carved with the faces of gods long forgotten by the outside world. He can feel the divine energy saturating every grain of sand, every blade of grass. This place was touched by Olympus itself. It remembers when gods walked openly among mortals and demanded blood sacrifice. The Amazons are waiting. 200 of them line the cliffs above the beach, warrior women in bronze armor with spears and shields, watching the vampire who dared accept their princess's challenge. They don't speak. Don't move. Just watch with eyes that have seen centuries of battle and recognize a true predator when one stands before them. Alucard tips his hat to them in mock respect, and several hands tighten on spear shaft. Wonder Woman descends from the cliffs, not flying, but leaping, her boots hitting the sand with enough force to crack it. She's dressed for war. Not the modern suit she wears in man's world, but ancient Amazon battle armor. Bronze breastplate etched with eagles, terrages of hardened leather, greaves that shine like captured sunlight. Her sword is naked in her hand, 3 feet of divinely forged steel that's tasted the blood of gods. Her shield bears the double-headed eagle of Themyscira. The lasso of truth coils at her hip, glowing faintly gold. She looks magnificent, ancient, terrible, every inch the warrior goddess. Alucard's smile widens. Finally, someone who understands. Understands what, vampire? Diana's voice carries the weight of divine authority. That some conversations can only happen through violence, Alucard says, removing his hat and coat, letting them dissolve into shadow. Underneath, he's wearing the black combat suit, form-fitting and practical. His guns materialize in his hands, the Castle and the Jackal, massive hand cannons that look like they could punch through tank armor. That words are cheap, but steel and blood tell the truth. That you and I are both monsters pretending to be something else, and it's exhausting keeping up the pretense. I am no monster, Diana says coldly. I am a warrior. There is a difference. Is there? Alucard holsters the Jackal, keeping only the Castle. You've killed. I've seen your history. The gods themselves blessed you as their champion and sent you to war against threats that would end worlds. You've driven your blade through hearts and watched the light fade from enemies' eyes. You've stood over corpses and called it justice. How is that different from what I do? Intent, Diana says simply. Purpose. Honor. I kill only when necessary, only in service of protecting the innocent, only when all other options are exhausted. You kill because you're bored, because you're searching for death and don't care who dies in the process. That is the difference between a warrior and a monster. Beautiful speech, Alucard says. Now let's see if you can back it up. He fires. The castle roars, a 13mm silver bullet blessed by every holy man in his original dimension screaming across the beach at supersonic speeds. Diana's bracers come up instinctively, the bullet ricocheting off Amazonian silver with a sound like a bell tolling. Before the echo fades, Alucard has fired 17 more times, each shot from a different angle as he moves with impossible speed, trying to find a gap in her defenses. Diana blocks every single one. Her bracers move faster than human eyes can track, faster than the bullets themselves, each impact sending out shockwaves that tear up the beach. When Alucard's gun clicks empty, she's already moving, closing the distance in a blur of bronze and determination. Her sword comes down where Alucard's head was a microsecond ago. He's already dodged, flowing like water, and her blade bites deep into the sand. She doesn't pause, spinning into a shield bash that would cave in a normal being's chest. Alucard takes the hit deliberately, letting the impact send him flying backward 30 feet. He lands in a crouch, smiling, and the crushed ribs she felt collapse are already healing. Strength blessed by Zeus himself, Alucard observes. Standing. Speed from Hermes, durability from Gaia, and skill earned through 3,000 years of combat training. You're not just playing at being a goddess, Diana. You actually have the power to back up the title. And you talk too much, Diana says, launching herself forward again. This time Alucard doesn't dodge. He meets her charge head-on, his hand catching a sword blade mid-swing. The edge bites into its palm, drawing that impossible black blood, but he holds the weapon steady even as Diana pours divine strength into driving it through his hand. They're locked there, face to face, God-blessed warrior against unkillable monster, each testing the other's limits. You're holding back, Alucard says quietly. I can feel it, all that divine power coiled inside you, ready to be unleashed, and you're rationing it out like you're afraid of what happens if you let go completely. I'm being tactical, Diana counters, her eyes flashing. Conserving energy for... Alucard headbutts her. Not with human strength, but with the force of 3 million souls compressed into a single point of impact. Diana's head snaps back, and for the first time in decades, she tastes blood in her mouth. Her own blood. The shock of it costs her a microsecond of concentration, and Alucard uses that opening to tear his hand free from her blade and drive his fist into her stomach. Diana goes flying. She crashes through a marble pillar, through the wall of an ancient temple, and into the forest beyond. Trees explode around her as she finally stops her momentum by driving her sword into the ground and using it as an anchor. She stands slowly, wiping blood from her lip, and her eyes are no longer human. They're glowing white with divine power, the full blessing of the gods activating. Finally, Alucard says, walking through the destruction toward her, "Show me what you really are." Diana rips her sword from the ground, and the blade ignites with lightning. Not metaphorical lightning. Actual bolts of Zeus's power crackling along the divine steel. When she swings, the air itself tears apart, reality screaming as God-forged weapon meets something that shouldn't exist. Alucard crosses his arms to block, and the lightning-wreathed blade cuts through his forearms like they're paper. Both hands fall to the forest floor, severed cleanly. Diana follows up with a shield bash that sends him flying backward through 6 massive trees before he stops, armless and bleeding shadows instead of blood. The Amazons watching from the cliffs roar approval. Their princess is winning. The monster is being dismantled piece by piece, but Alucard is laughing. His arms regenerate in seconds, bursting from the stumps in an explosion of black tendrils that reform into flesh and bone. Yes, yes, this is what I've been searching for. He spreads his newly reformed arms wide. No hesitation, no mercy, no pulling punches because you're worried about being too brutal. This is how gods fight. This is what I needed. Diana doesn't respond with words. She responds with the lasso of truth, cracking it through the air faster than sound, and wrapping it around Alucard's torso before he can dodge. The golden rope tightens, and Alucard's scream is equal parts agony and ecstasy. The lasso doesn't just restrain, it forces truth. And when it touches something like Alucard, something made of millions of stolen souls, it tries to unravel him, tries to separate every consciousness, every absorbed life, every piece of the collective horror that makes him what he is. 3 million souls scream simultaneously through his mouth, and the sound is enough to crack the marble temples half a mile away. Diana pulls the lasso tighter, her muscles straining, sweat running down her face. Surrender, vampire. The lasso of truth cannot be escaped. It will tear you apart until there's nothing left but scattered fragments of... The lasso snaps. Impossibly, the unbreakable cord forged by Hephaestus himself and blessed by Hestia breaks. Not because Alucard is stronger than a god's craftsmanship, but because when you try to force truth on 3 million contradictory souls, the weapon itself cannot process the paradox. The lasso literally cannot handle what Alucard is. Alive and dead, one and many, victim and monster, human and inhuman. Diana stares at the severed ends of her lasso in shock. In 3,000 years, that's never happened. The weapon has held gods, demons, conceptual entities, and a vampire just broke it through sheer existential complexity. I'm sorry about that, Alucard says, and he actually sounds sincere. That was a magnificent weapon, but I'm not really one person, Diana. I'm 3 million people who all have different truths, different stories, different reasons for existing. Your lasso tried to force us into a single narrative, and we broke it by being impossible to define. Diana drops the broken lasso and raises her sword again, but Alucard holds up his hand. Wait. Why should I wait? This is combat. There is no pause, no... Because I want to tell you something true without your lasso forcing it out of me. Alucard interrupts. You asked me earlier what the difference is between you and me, between a warrior and a monster. I've been thinking about it while you've been trying to kill me, and I've figured it out. He takes a step closer, his eyes meeting hers, and for once there's no mockery in his voice. The difference is that you still have something to fight for. People you love, a home to protect, a purpose beyond violence. I lost all of that 5 centuries ago. I've outlived everyone I ever cared about. I've seen empires rise and fall. I've killed so many people that their souls are literally part of me now, whispering their deaths every second of every day. I keep fighting because it's the only thing I remember how to do, but I don't remember why anymore. Diana's sword lowers slightly. Then why continue? Why not simply stop? Because stopping means accepting that I'll exist like this forever, Alucard says. Immortal, unchanging, watching the universe age around me while I remain frozen. But if I keep fighting, keep pushing, keep testing every powerful being I encounter, maybe eventually I'll find the one thing strong enough to end me, to give me the death I've earned 1,000 times over. That's not honor, Diana says quietly. That's despair. Perhaps, Alucard agrees. But it's my despair, and I'm going to indulge it until I get what I want. Diana sheathes her sword slowly, and the motion makes every Amazon on the cliffs gasp. To sheath your weapon before an enemy falls is to show ultimate disrespect or ultimate mercy. The vampire before her deserves neither. Yet Diana finds herself doing it anyway. She looks at Alucard, truly looks at him, and sees something beyond the monster. A soldier who outlived his war, a weapon that forgot why it was forged, a creature trapped in eternal existence searching desperately for an ending. I will not kill you, Diana says firmly. Not because I cannot, but because that is what you want, and I will not be the instrument of your suicide. Alucard's expression darkens. Then you're a coward like the rest of them. No. Diana steps closer, close enough to strike, close enough that Alucard could tear her throat out if he chose. I'm a warrior who recognizes when the true battle isn't about strength. You don't need death, vampire. You need purpose. You need something worth existing for beyond finding your destroyer. And what would you have me do? Alucard's voice drips sarcasm. Join your league. Fight for truth and justice and the American way. Pretend I'm a hero when we both know I'm a monster wearing a person's face? No, Diana says. I would have you do what you've always done. Fight, kill monsters, protect the weak, but with direction. With allies who won't judge you for being what you are. She gestures to the Amazons lining the cliffs. We are warriors born and bred for battle. We understand violence as a language, a tool, a necessity. We don't preach restraint to those who are made for war. We simply aim them at worthy targets. Alucard considers this. You're offering me what Batman tried and failed to give me. A leash. I'm offering you what Integra Hellsing gave you. Diana counters. Respect, boundaries, and enemies worth killing. This universe has threats that even the Justice League struggles against. Darkseid, the Anti-Monitor, Trigon, gods and demons and monsters that laugh at Superman's restraint and Batman's tactics. Threats that require someone willing to go further. Someone expendable. Someone like you. Expendable, Alucard repeats, tasting the word. Because I can't die. Because you're already dead, Diana corrects. You're not risking anything by fighting these threats. The League is. They have lives, families, mortality. You have none of those weaknesses. Which makes you the perfect weapon against the things that would end worlds. It's manipulation, and they both know it. Diana is reframing Alucard's death wish as tactical advantage, giving him purpose through utilitarian logic. But it's also honest. The DC Universe does have threats that require someone willing to cross lines heroes won't. Someone who can go into the darkest places and do the darkest work without moral compromise because morality is a luxury he surrendered centuries ago. And between these world-ending threats, Alucard asks, when there's no apocalypse to fight, then you hunt what you've been hunting, Diana says. The traffickers, the slavers, the predators who hide behind laws and money and power. The criminals who slip through Batman's net because he won't break his code. You be the monster that monsters fear. Alucard laughs, but it's different now. Thoughtful instead of mocking. A sanctioned killer, that's what you're offering. Permission to do what I want, with a thin veneer of heroic justification. I'm offering you a war that doesn't end, Diana says. Isn't that what you really want? Not death, but purpose? An eternal conflict where you can unleash everything you are without guilt, without restraint, without the boredom that's eating you alive. For a long moment, Alucard says nothing. He looks at Diana, at the Amazons, at the sacred island that stood for 3 millennia as a monument to warriors who never surrendered. He thinks about his conversation with Batman, with Superman, with all the heroes who tried to contain him, or reason with him, or understand him. Diana is the first one who hasn't tried to change what he is. She's simply pointing him at targets she deems worthy of his monstrosity. It's honest in a way the others weren't. Batman wanted to control him. Superman wanted to redeem him. Diana wants to use him. And somehow that feels more respectful than either alternative. If I agree, Alucard says slowly, I won't follow League protocols. I won't report to Batman or take orders from Superman. I work alone or I don't work at all." "Agreed," Diana says immediately. "But you will answer to me. When I call, you come. When I designate a target, you hunt it. When I say stop, you stop. Those are my terms." "And if I refuse to stop?" Diana's eyes flash white with divine power again. "Then I will fight you with everything I have. No restraint, no mercy. And one of us will finally die. Maybe you, maybe me. But the battle will be glorious enough that the gods themselves will take notice." Alucard grins. "That's the right answer. Not a threat of imprisonment or banishment, a promise of combat, of one final glorious battle if he crosses the line." It's the only language he truly understands, and Diana speaks it fluently. "You have a deal, Amazon." Alucard extends his hand. "Point me at your monsters, and I'll show them what a real monster looks like." Diana takes his hand. Her grip could crush steel. His could tear through divine flesh. They shake once, firmly, and the pact is sealed. The Amazons on the cliffs begin beating their spears against their shields in rhythmic approval. This is how warriors make peace. Through strength, through understanding, through mutual respect, born of violence. "Your first assignment," Diana says, releasing his hand. "There's a demon cult in Brazil attempting to summon Trigon. They've sacrificed 47 people so far and are preparing for the final ritual. Superman won't kill them because they're still human. Batman is investigating, but moving too slowly. I need them eliminated before the ritual completes." "When?" Alucard asks, already feeling the familiar anticipation of a hunt. "They begin at midnight, 7 hours from now." "Then I have time for dinner," Alucard says, turning toward the beach. He pauses. "Thank you, Diana, for seeing what I am and not trying to fix it." "Warriors don't need fixing," Diana replies. "Only proper direction." Alucard dissolves into mist and flows across the water, heading toward Brazil, already planning his approach to the demon cult. Behind him, Diana picks up the severed pieces of the lasso of truth and looks at them with regret. The weapon served her for millennia, but perhaps its breaking was necessary. Perhaps she needed to face Alucard without its security, without the ability to force a truth, and instead find understanding through honest combat. Her lieutenant, Artemis, descends from the cliffs. "My lady, was that wise? Aligning ourselves with such a creature?" "Wise?" Diana considers. "Perhaps not, but necessary. The world faces threats that require monsters to fight monsters. We've seen it before. Sometimes the only way to kill a god is to unleash something worse than a god. Alucard is worse, and now he's our worse. And if he turns against us?" Diana smiles grimly. "Then I'll fight him again. And this time, one of us won't walk away." 7 hours later, in an abandoned cathedral deep in the Brazilian rainforest, a demon cult completes their final preparations. 47 bodies lie arranged in a summoning circle, blood still fresh, and 32 cultists in black robes chant in a language predating human civilization. The air itself is tearing open, a rift forming to a dimension of fire and suffering. Trigon's presence can be felt pressing against reality, eager to break through and consume another world. The head cultist raises the ceremonial dagger, prepared to sacrifice the final victim, a child, 12 years old, crying and bound to a stone altar. His hand comes down, and the blade stops an inch from the child's chest, held by fingers that appeared from nowhere. "Apologies," Alucard says, materializing from the shadows. But I'm afraid this ritual is cancelled due to a scheduling conflict. Specifically, I'm scheduled to paint these walls with your internal organs. The cultists react with admirable speed, throwing fireballs and shadow bolts and eldritch energy. It's all very impressive. Very demonic, completely useless. The attacks pass through Alucard like he's made of smoke, and his laughter echoes through the cathedral. "You're trying to summon a demon?" Alucard asks conversationally, walking toward them. "Let me show you what a real demon looks like." He releases the restraints. All of them. The 3 million souls he keeps compressed inside his being suddenly have room to manifest, and the cathedral explodes with screaming shadows. Faces made of darkness erupt from his body. Men, women, children, soldiers, victims. All the lives he's consumed over 5 centuries. They pour out like a flood of nightmares given form, and the cultists' screams are drowned out by the chorus of 3 million voices shrieking in unified hunger. What happens next takes 6 minutes. When it's over, the cultists are gone, not dead, consumed. Their souls are now part of Alucard's collection, added to the millions already screaming inside him. The rift to Trigon's dimension sealed itself when the ritual was interrupted, and the child on the altar is free, terrified but alive, staring at the monster that saved her. Alucard seals the souls back inside himself, returning to human form. He approaches the girl carefully, crouching down to her level. "You're safe now. The bad men can't hurt you anymore. I'm going to take you somewhere safe, and then you're going to forget this ever happened. Understand?" The girl nods, too shocked to speak. Alucard picks her up gently, so carefully, like he's afraid she'll break, and carries her out of the cathedral. He finds the nearest village, leaves her on the doorstep of the church with a note explaining she was rescued from traffickers, and vanishes before anyone sees him. He returns to Themyscira just before dawn, finding Diana waiting on the beach. She doesn't ask how it went. She can see it in his eyes. The satisfaction, the purpose, the feeling of being useful instead of just destructive. 47 souls avenged, Alucard reports. 32 cultists eliminated. 1 child saved. Trigon's summoning prevented. The cult's headquarters burned to ash with all their records. No survivors. "Good," Diana says simply. There's a situation developing in Kandak. A warlord claiming to channel the power of Black Adam is executing entire villages. He's untouchable through legal channels because he's operating in a failed state. But he's not untouchable to you. Alucard smiles. "When do I leave?" "Tomorrow. Rest first. Even monsters need to recharge." "I don't sleep," Alucard says. "Then meditate," Diana counters. "Find peace in what you've done. You saved a child tonight. That matters." Alucard looks at her strangely. "Does it? I've killed millions. 1 saved child doesn't balance that scale." "It's not about balance," Diana says gently. "It's about direction. You're pointing forward now instead of backward. That's progress." Alucard considers this, then nods slowly. "I'll return tomorrow for the briefing." He disappears into shadows, and Diana watches the sun rise over Themyscira, wondering if she's done the right thing. She's unleashed something terrible on the world's monsters, given sanction to a vampire who delights in violence, weaponized despair itself. But the child in Brazil is alive. The cultists are gone. Trigon remains imprisoned, and sometimes That's all that matters. Darkseid hears about Alucard 3 weeks after the vampire's partnership with Wonder Woman begins. The report comes from a lowly servant on Apocalypse, one of the miserable souls who monitors Earth transmissions for useful intelligence. The servant is terrified as he presents the compiled data. 17 missions completed, 243 criminals eliminated, 6 apocalyptic rituals disrupted, 3 trafficking networks dismantled, all by a single entity that operates outside Justice League parameters and leaves no survivors. "Show me," Darkseid commands from his throne, and the screens light up with footage. Alucard tearing through a metahuman fight club in Singapore. Alucard interrupting a Cobra cult ceremony in Egypt. Alucard standing in a warehouse full of corpses in Moscow, smiling at security cameras like he knows Darkseid will eventually watch this. And in every clip, the same pattern: overwhelming violence, complete mission success, zero regard for human law or heroic convention. Darkseid leans forward, his stone face showing something almost like interest. "What is this creature?" "Reports indicate vampire classification, Lord Darkseid," the servant stammers. "But analysis suggests something far more complex. He's survived direct combat with Superman and Wonder Woman. He regenerates from catastrophic damage. He exists partially outside conventional reality. And most interestingly, he appears to be searching for something, testing limits, pushing boundaries. Searching for death," Darkseid says, understanding immediately. "An immortal seeking oblivion. How delicious." He stands, his massive form casting shadows across the throne room. "I want him brought to Apocalypse, alive, undamaged. I wish to speak with this vampire who thinks himself unkillable." "My lord, his power level suggests capture may be difficult." The servant doesn't finish the sentence because Darkseid's Omega beams erase him from existence. Darkseid turns to his elite guard, the hulking parademons bred for loyalty and violence. "Send Kalibak. Tell my son to extend an invitation. If this Alucard truly seeks ultimate power, he will come willingly." On Earth, Alucard is in Gotham meeting with Batman when the boom tube opens in Crime Alley. The sound is distinctive, reality tearing open with a thunderclap. Both Alucard and Batman turn toward the disturbance, hands going to weapons. And through the portal steps something that makes even Gotham's shadows retreat. Kalibak, the Cruel, is 8 feet of savage muscle and armor, Darkseid's son and enforcer, wielding a beta club capable of crushing tank armor. His face is bestial, tusked, and his eyes burn with the genetic cruelty inherited from his father. He looks at Batman with contempt, then at Alucard with interest. "Vampire," Kalibak's voice is gravel grinding against steel. "My father wishes to meet you. You will come to Apocalypse." "Will I?" Alucard asks, amused. "And if I decline this generous invitation?" "Then I will drag you through the boom tube by your spine," Kalibak says pleasantly. "But I'd prefer you came willingly, more dignified that way." Batman's hand is already on his belt, calculating options. Kalibak alone is a threat that requires League intervention. If Darkseid wants Alucard, this could escalate into intergalactic war. "Stand down, Kalibak. Alucard is under Justice League protection." Kalibak laughs. "The Justice League protects a vampire who kills criminals by the dozen. How progressive, but my father's invitation supersedes your protection, human. This is between Apocalypse and the No-Life King." Alucard steps forward, and Batman's hand shoots out to stop him. "Don't. If If you go to Apocalypse, you're playing Darkseid's game. He'll try to corrupt you, control you, turn you into a weapon against Earth. Or, Alucard says softly, he'll give me what you and Diana have been too weak to give me. A real fight. A god who might actually be strong enough to kill me permanently. He looks at Kalibak. Tell me, does your father truly wield the power of a god? Or is that just reputation? Kalibak's smile is all teeth. My father is Darkseid. He has broken planets, enslaved entire civilizations. His Omega beams have erased immortals from existence itself. If you seek death, vampire, he can certainly provide it. Then I accept, Alucard says. And before Batman can stop him, he walks toward the boom tube. Alucard, don't. I need to see this through. Alucard interrupts, glancing back at Batman. Tell Diana I appreciate her efforts. Tell her I found purpose in our partnership. But some hungers can't be satisfied by just killing monsters. I need to know if a new god can end an old vampire. Only one way to find out. He steps through the boom tube and Kalibak follows, the portal sealing behind them with a sound like bones breaking. Batman is left alone in Crime Alley, knowing he just watched something catastrophic unfold and having no immediate way to stop it. He activates his Justice League emergency beacon. All members, Priority Alpha. Alucard has been taken to Apocalypse by Kalibak. Darkseid is involved. We need immediate response protocols. Diana's voice comes through immediately, sharp with anger. He what? Batman, Alucard is my responsibility. You'll wait, Batman interrupts. Going to Apocalypse alone is suicide. If we're retrieving him, we do it as a league with a coordinated plan, not a revenge mission. He's not yours to lose, Diana snaps, but there's worry underneath the anger. She spent 3 weeks pointing Alucard at worthy targets, watching him find something resembling peace in directed violence. And now Darkseid has him, and she knows exactly what the Lord of Apocalypse will offer. The same thing he offers everyone: power, purpose, and the seductive promise of finally belonging to something greater than themselves. On Apocalypse, Alucard emerges from the boom tube into hell given architectural form. Fire pits dot the landscape, the sky burns perpetually red, massive factories churn out weapons and parademons, powered by the screams of enslaved populations. The air tastes of ash and despair, and the crushed hopes of 1 billion conquered worlds. It's horrific, industrial, perfectly designed to break the human spirit through sheer oppressive misery. Alucard loves it immediately. Now this, he says, spreading his arms wide, is how you build an empire. No pretense of mercy, no false hope, just efficient, honest tyranny. He looks at Kalibak. Your father has style. I'll give him that. Kalibak leads him through the fire pits, past slave populations who look up with dead eyes and quickly look away when they see what's following their tormentor. Alucard notices their hopelessness, the way they've accepted eternal suffering as their reality. He's seen that look before. In concentration camps, in war zones, in places where humans have given up being human because survival requires becoming something less. It should bother him, but he's seen it too many times, felt it too many times from the souls he's absorbed. Suffering is the default state of existence. Some civilizations just hide it better than others. They reach Darkseid's throne room, a cathedral of dark stone and burning pits where the Lord of Apocalypse sits in judgment over reality itself. Darkseid is massive. 9 feet of stone-like skin and glowing red eyes, wearing armor that's seen 1,000 wars and emerged unscathed. The Omega symbol burns on his chest. The air around him bends with gravitational force. He is a god in the most literal sense, powerful, ancient, and absolutely certain of his supremacy. He looks at Alucard like a collector examining a rare specimen. The no-life king. Darkseid's voice rumbles like tectonic plates shifting. I have heard much about you. A vampire who killed his world's gods, who absorbed millions of souls, who survived being erased from existence. You interest me, creature. You represent something I have rarely encountered. True immortality without purpose. And you represent something I've been searching for, Alucard replies, meeting Darkseid's gaze without flinching. A god who might actually be strong enough to kill me permanently. Darkseid smiles, and it's the expression of a predator who's found prey stupid enough to walk into its jaws. Death. Is that what you seek? How disappointingly pedestrian. I had hoped for something more ambitious, but if death is your desire, I can certainly provide it. He raises his hand and his eyes glow with Omega energy. My Omega beams have erased immortals before. They don't simply kill, they unmake, erase you from history itself. Would that satisfy your death wish? Only one way to find out, Alucard says, and his smile is all teeth. The Omega beams lance out, twin beams of red energy that can bend through space and time, that pursue their target relentlessly, that represent the fundamental concept of ending. They hit Alucard's center mass, and he screams as reality tries to erase him. His body begins unraveling, dissolving into impossible angles and geometries that hurt to perceive. The 3 million souls inside him shriek in unified terror as the Omega effect tries to delete every single one of them simultaneously. For 5 agonizing seconds, it looks like it's working, like Darkseid has succeeded where every other being failed, like the no-life king is finally meeting his end. Then Alucard starts laughing. The laughter comes from 3 million mouths, overlapping, harmonizing, creating a sound that shouldn't be possible, and slowly, impossibly, he begins reforming. The Omega beams are still hitting him, still trying to erase him, but he's regenerating faster than he can be unmade, because he's not just one being. He's 3 million beings compressed into a single form, and to erase him, you'd have to erase every single soul simultaneously. The Omega beams can't process that many targets at once. They're designed to unmake individuals, not collective consciousnesses. Darkseid's eyes narrow. He increases the power, and the Omega beams intensify until they're burning like suns. Alucard's flesh melts away, his bones disintegrate. His very existence struggles against obliteration, but still he laughs, still he regenerates, still he refuses to die. Finally, Darkseid stops. The Omega beams fade, and Alucard stands there, perfectly reformed, his suit not even wrinkled, still smiling that terrible smile. That, Alucard says breathlessly, was the closest anyone's come in 5 centuries. Do it again, please. Keep trying until it works. But Darkseid is no longer trying to kill him. The Lord of Apocalypse is studying him with new understanding, his red eyes calculating possibilities. You're not just immortal. You're immune to erasure, fascinating, and completely useless to kill. He leans back on his throne, but perhaps useful for other purposes. Here it comes, Alucard says. The recruitment pitch, the offer to join your empire in exchange for purpose and power and a place to belong. You think because I'm lonely, because I'm searching, that I'll kneel before you and become your attack dog. Am I close? Remarkably perceptive, Darkseid says. But you misunderstand my offer. I don't want you as a servant. I want you as a weapon, a failsafe. There are threats in this universe even I struggle against. The anti-monitor, the source. Entities that exist beyond conventional power. You, who cannot be erased, would make an excellent contingency plan. Alucard listens to Darkseid's pitch with something approaching respect. At least the new god is honest about his intentions. No pretense of heroism or redemption. Just pure utilitarian calculation. You're useful. I want to use you. Here's what I offer in exchange. It's refreshing compared to Superman's moral lectures or Batman's tactical manipulations. Even Diana's warrior code had elements of trying to civilize him, to point his monstrosity toward acceptable targets. Darkseid just wants a weapon that can't break, and he's willing to aim it at gods. Tempting, Alucard admits, but I've played the attack dog before. Spent decades following orders, killing on command, being the monster someone else pointed at, targets they deemed worthy. It was satisfying for a time, but ultimately, I'm back where I started. Existing without purpose, killing without meaning, searching for an ending that never comes. Then what do you want? Darkseid asks, genuine curiosity in his voice. If not death, if not purpose, if not power, what drives a creature like you? Alucard considers the question. It's one he's been asking himself since arriving in this universe. What does he want? He wanted death, but Darkseid just proved even Omega beams can't erase him. He wanted purpose, but Diana's missions were just another form of servitude. He wanted challenge, but even a new god can't make him feel mortal. So, what's left? I want to feel something real, Alucard says finally. For 5 centuries I've been numb. I kill without guilt, fight without fear, exist without attachment. The souls inside me scream constantly, but I barely hear them anymore. I'm a ghost walking through existence, going through the motions of living without actually being alive. And I thought coming to a universe full of gods and heroes might change that. Might make me feel human again, even if only for a moment. And has it? Darkseid asks. Alucard thinks about Batman's moral certainty, Superman's unwavering hope, Diana's warrior respect, the child he saved in Brazil who looked at him with terror and gratitude simultaneously. 3 weeks of directed violence that actually mattered instead of random slaughter. It's not much, but it's more than he's felt in decades. Maybe, Alucard admits, Diana gave me something resembling direction. Hunting monsters who deserve it feels different than just killing because I can. Saving that child reminded me what it was like to protect instead of destroy. It's not redemption. I am too far gone for that. But it's something, a reason to keep existing that isn't just searching for my own death. Darkseid stands from his throne, his massive form casting shadows across the chamber. Then I will make you an offer, no-life king. Not as master to servant, but as one immortal to another who understands the burden of endless existence. He walks down the steps until he's standing before Alucard. I will not try to control you, will not give you orders or demand loyalty. Instead, I offer you freedom. True freedom. The freedom to hunt whatever you wish, wherever you wish, across all worlds under my domain. In exchange, when I face threats that require your unique capabilities, you will answer my call. You're offering me a hunting ground the size of multiple planets, Alucard says, in exchange for occasional mercenary work. I'm offering you the only thing that can satisfy a predator like you, Darkseid corrects. Unlimited prey. My empire spans dozens of worlds, filled with rebels, criminals, monsters, and beings who defy my will. You could spend centuries hunting them all and never run out of targets. And when you grow bored of that, there are always new worlds to conquer, new civilizations to tear through, new challenges to face. It's the perfect trap. Offer the monster exactly what it wants, freedom to indulge its nature while subtly binding it through mutual benefit. Darkseid gets an unkillable enforcer for his worst problems. Alucard gets an eternal hunting ground. Both get what they want, while neither truly serves the other. Alucard almost accepts, almost lets himself fall into the comfortable pattern of violence for violence's sake. But something stops him. The memory of Diana's words on Themyscira. You're pointing forward now instead of backward. That's progress. Progress. Such a human concept. Such a fragile hope that change is possible even for monsters. And Alucard realizes with startling clarity that he doesn't want to go backward, doesn't want to return to being a mindless weapon aimed at targets by someone else's hand, even if that hand gives him more freedom than before. Because that's still not choice. That's still just existence without meaning. No, Alucard says, and Darkseid's eyes narrow dangerously. I appreciate the offer. Truly, it's the most honest pitch I've received in this universe. But I'm going to decline. You would refuse, Darkseid? The temperature in the throne room drops as Darkseid's power manifests. You would reject my generosity and protection? Explain yourself, vampire, before I decide your immunity to erasure means nothing against eternity in a fire pit. Because I just realized something, Alucard says, meeting Darkseid's glare without fear. I came to this universe searching for death, for a being strong enough to end me permanently. And you just proved you can't do it. Your Omega beams, your godlike power, your mastery over life and death, none of it is enough, which means I need to stop searching for death and start searching for something else. And what might that be? Life, Alucard says simply. Or the closest thing someone like me can approximate. Diana was right. I need direction, not destruction, purpose, not oblivion. I need to remember what it feels like to protect instead of just punish, to save instead of just slaughter. Your offer is everything my monstrous nature craves, which is exactly why I have to refuse it. For a long moment, Darkseid says nothing. Then, impossibly, he laughs. It's not the laugh of a god mocking a lesser being. It's the laugh of genuine amusement, the sound of someone encountering something unexpected after millennia of predictable patterns. You refuse power, freedom, and purpose because accepting them would be too easy, Darkseid says. You choose the harder path, because somewhere in that collective consciousness of 3 million souls, you still have something resembling a moral compass. How disappointingly heroic. His eyes flash red. But I am not known for accepting rejection gracefully. You will leave Apocalypse, but know this. My offer remains open. When you inevitably tire of playing hero, when Diana's missions bore you, when you remember that you're a monster no matter how many children you save, you can return here, and I will still have targets for you to hunt. I'll keep that in mind, Alucard says. How do I leave? Kalibak steps forward, Beta Club in hand. You don't. My father offered you generosity, and you spat on it. Now you die, permanently or not. I'm going to enjoy tearing you apart for the next 1,000 years. Alucard's smile returns. Finally, I was wondering when the violence would start. Kalibak swings. The Beta Club, capable of crushing starship hulls, comes down where Alucard's head was, but the vampire is already moving, flowing like shadow. And his fist drives into Kalibak's ribs hard enough to crack the armor. Kalibak staggers, surprised that something this small can hit this hard, and Alucard follows up with a flurry of strikes that would turn a normal being into paste. Kalibak tanks the hits and responds with a backhand that sends Alucard flying across the throne room. He crashes through a pillar, leaving a crater in the wall, and Kalibak charges after him with the roar of a maddened beast. The Beta Club comes down again, and this time Alucard catches it with both hands, stopping the weapon mid-swing through pure strength. You're strong, Alucard admits, his arms shaking with effort. Stronger than Superman, probably stronger than Diana. But strength isn't enough against something that can't stay dead. He releases level 1. Just the first seal. The first layer of restraint, but it's enough. Shadows explode from his body, black tendrils writhing with faces and screaming mouths. They wrap around Kalibak like serpents, squeezing, crushing, and Alucard uses the distraction to tear the Beta Club from Kalibak's hands and drive it into his chest. The impact sends Kalibak through the throne room floor into the chamber below. Alucard follows, dropping through the hole, and finds Kalibak already standing, pulling the weapon from his chest with barely a grunt. The wound is already healing, godly physiology knitting back together. Good, Kalibak growls. This will actually be fun. They clash again, two immortals testing each other's limits in a fight that tears through 3 levels of apocalypse architecture. Parademons flee screaming. Slave populations watch in awe and terror. And on his throne, Darkseid watches with calculating interest, seeing exactly how much damage Alucard can inflict when properly motivated. The fight lasts 17 minutes. When it ends, Kalibak is unconscious, buried under rubble, his armor shattered and his pride demolished. Alucard stands over him, breathing hard, covered in his own black blood and Kalibak's red ichor. He's won, but only barely. Kalibak is legitimately powerful, and if the fight had continued much longer, Alucard isn't sure he would have come out on top. Satisfied? Darkseid asks from his throne, having watched the entire battle without intervention. Thoroughly, Alucard replies. Your son is a magnificent warrior. Give him my compliments when he wakes up. I will not, Darkseid says flatly. He lost. Failure deserves no compliments. He gestures and a boom tube opens. Leave, vampire. Return to your heroes and your missions and your futile attempt at redemption. But remember, when you finally tire of pretending to be something you're not, Apocalypse will welcome you with open arms and unlimited prey. Alucard walks toward the boom tube, then pauses. One question before I leave. If you knew I'd refuse, why make the offer at all? Because I wanted to see if you were capable of refusing, Darkseid says. Most beings I recruit break immediately. They accept power without question, seduced by the promise of purpose. You're the first in centuries to choose the harder path. That makes you interesting. And Darkseid collects interesting weapons, even ones he cannot currently control. We will meet again, no life king. Of that, I am certain. Alucard steps through the boom tube without responding and emerges back in Gotham, Crime Alley, where this started. Batman is waiting, along with Diana, who looks ready to start a war. "You're alive," Diana says, relief and anger warring in her voice. "I was 3 minutes from launching a full League assault on Apocalypse to retrieve you." "That would have gone poorly for everyone," Alucard says, "but I appreciate the sentiment." "What did Darkseid want?" Batman demands. "Same thing everyone wants. To use me as a weapon. I declined." Batman's eyes narrow. "Just like that? You declined Darkseid's offer?" "Just like that," Alucard confirms. "Turns out I'm capable of surprising myself." "Who knew?" He looks at Diana. "I'm ready to continue our arrangement. More missions, more monsters, more reasons to keep existing that don't involve finding creative ways to die." Diana studies him carefully, seeing something changed in the vampire's demeanor. "What happened on Apocalypse?" "I took a direct hit from Omega beams and survived," Alucard says, "which proves definitively that I can't die, no matter how powerful my opponent. So I need to stop chasing death and start figuring out how to live." "You are right, Diana. Forward instead of backward. That's progress." For the first time since meeting him, Diana smiles. Not the warrior's smile before battle. A genuine, almost proud expression. "Then let's get to work." There's a situation in Star City. A metahuman cartel that's been avoiding Green Arrow for months. They specialize in trafficking metahuman children to bidders worldwide. Alucard's eyes glow red. "When do we leave?" The partnership between Wonder Woman and Alucard becomes something the Justice League never expected. Effective. Over the following months, criminal organizations that once operated with impunity find themselves hunted by something that doesn't follow heroic protocols or legal boundaries. Trafficking networks collapse overnight. Demon cults vanish mid-ritual. Warlords claiming divine mandate discover what happens when something older and darker than their gods comes calling. The death toll is astronomical, but every single casualty is someone who preyed on the innocent, who slipped through the cracks of a justice system too civilized to handle true monsters. Batman doesn't approve. He files 17 formal complaints with the League, documenting every extrajudicial killing, every violation of due process, every time Alucard crosses lines that heroes shouldn't cross. But he can't argue with results. Crime rates in major cities drop by 40% within 6 months. Metahuman trafficking decreases by 67%. And the children Alucard saves, hundreds of them now, get to go home because a monster decided they were worth protecting. Superman remains conflicted. He's seen Alucard save lives with the same hands that drain souls. Watched him show mercy to victims while showing none to victimizers. The vampire represents everything Clark believes is wrong with vigilante justice, yet every alternative Superman proposes is slower, less effective, and results in more innocent casualties. It's a moral paradox wrapped in blood and shadows, and Superman doesn't have an answer for it. Diana stands by her decision. She sees what the others don't, that Alucard isn't being redeemed or reformed. He's simply being aimed. His nature hasn't changed. He's still a monster, still kills without hesitation, still absorbs souls and laughs while doing it. But now, he's a monster with purpose. and that makes all the difference. The no-life king will never be a hero, but he can be something almost as valuable, a necessary evil that keeps worse evils from consuming the world. Darkseid watches from Apocalypse with calculating patience. The vampire refused him once, but Darkseid is immortal. He can wait. Eventually, Alucard will exhaust Diana's missions, will grow bored of Earth's limited monsters, will remember the offer of unlimited hunting grounds across multiple worlds, and when that day comes, Darkseid will be waiting with open arms and a universe full of prey. But that day hasn't come yet. Today, Alucard stands on a Gotham rooftop beside Batman, both watching the city that never stops bleeding. They're not friends, barely allies, but they've reached an understanding. Batman protects Gotham through fear and tactics, and Alucard protects it through terror and finality. Between them, the city has never been safer, even if the methods make both of them question what they're becoming. "You're still here," Batman says finally. "I expected you to leave by now, find a new universe to tear through." "I thought about it," Alucard admits, "but Diana was right. I spent 5 centuries searching for death and found something better, a reason to keep existing that doesn't involve my own destruction. These missions, these monsters, these small moments where I save someone instead of just killing someone. It's not redemption. I'm too far gone for that. But it's progress." "And when you stop progressing," Batman asks, "when you revert to what you were, then you'll activate whatever contingency plan you've been building since the day we met," Alucard says. "I know you, Batman. You've already figured out 17 ways to contain me, trap me, or at least slow me down long enough for the League to respond. You've probably got kryptonite-laced holy water in your belt right now, even though neither substance actually works on me. You prepare for everything." Batman doesn't deny it. 18 ways. And you're right, none of them will kill you. But they'll buy time. Time for Diana to talk you down. Time for Superman to remind you there's another way. Time for you to remember why you chose forward instead of backward. "You have more faith in me than I have in myself," Alucard says, but there's something almost warm in his voice. Strange, coming from someone who doesn't trust anyone. "I don't trust you," Batman corrects, "but I trust Diana's judgment, and she believes you're capable of being more than a monster. So I'll reserve judgment and keep my contingencies ready, just in case." They stand in silence, 2 creatures of the night watching over a city that needs them both. The detective who refuses to kill and the vampire who refuses to stop. It's an impossible partnership, a contradiction wrapped in darkness. But in Gotham, impossibility is just another Tuesday night. Somewhere in the city below, a child screams. Both of them hear it. Batman grapples toward the sound with practiced efficiency. Alucard dissolves into shadows and arrives first. By the time Batman reaches the alley, the threat is already neutralized. 3 gang members who made the mistake of targeting a kid are now dried husks, and the child is wrapped in Alucard's coat, shaking but alive. "She's fine," Alucard says, handing the girl to Batman. "Scared, but fine." Batman takes the child, his cowl scanning for injuries, finding none. "I could have handled this without casualties." "But not before they hurt her," Alucard counters. "Your way takes time. Mine is permanent. We've had this argument before, and neither of us is changing our position. So let's just accept that we work differently and focus on the result. She's safe. Batman wants to argue. Wants to lecture about justice and process and everything that separates heroes from executioners. But the girl is safe. The monsters are dead. And sometimes in Gotham, that has to be enough. Get out of here before GCPD arrives, Batman says. I'll handle the scene. Alucard nods and begins fading into shadow, then pauses. Thank you, Batman, for tolerating my existence, for not giving up on finding a way to stop me even though we both know you probably can't. That level of paranoid preparation is oddly comforting. It means someone's still treating me like a threat worth planning for, which means I haven't gone completely soft. You're welcome, Batman says dryly. And Alucard, the next time Darkseid opens a boom tube, call for backup before walking through it. Where's the fun in that? Alucard laughs as he disappears completely, leaving Batman alone with a rescued child and 3 corpses that will require extensive paperwork to explain. In the end, the DC universe doesn't defeat Alucard, doesn't redeem him, doesn't kill him. Instead, it gives him what 5 centuries of searching couldn't provide, a reason to exist beyond destruction. The no-life king finds something worth protecting in a universe full of gods and heroes, and while he'll never be one of them, while he'll always be the monster lurking at the edge of heroism's light, he's their monster now. The vampire who wanted to die learned how to live, not as a hero, not as a villain, but as something in between. A necessary darkness in a world that needs both light and shadow to survive. The Hellsing vampire in the DC universe becomes a legend whispered by criminals, a nightmare that hunts nightmares, and proof that even monsters can choose forward over backward when given the right motivation. Some doors should never be opened, some monsters should never be set free. But sometimes, the monster is exactly what the world needs. And Alucard, for better or worse, is exactly the monster this universe deserves. Justice never sleeps. More stories await.